She had suggested that we just go for a walk because there was sort of like some nice scenic area right by her home.
As we were at the spot at the marina, skipping rocks, a truck pulled up, and out came this guy. He opened up his passenger door, and out jumps this big Rottweiler. And the guy was like, oh, don't worry, you know, he loves the water. I bring him down here all the time.
After maybe about 5 minutes of chit-chat, he got his dog back into the truck, asked us if we needed a ride anywhere, and we said no, and he drove off.
As we were walking out, I guess he turned around behind us, and he came up behind us and blocked our path with his truck.
He opened the door and stepped out, and he was holding a gun.
To be completely honest, it felt like I had kind of stepped into a nightmare or a bad movie. It didn't feel real at all.
He just motioned with the gun, and he said, get in the truck. And Danny and I were both dumbfounded.
It was a red Ford pickup truck. It had like a cap on the back of the bed of the truck.
He opened the rear trunk and told us both to get in. And as soon as Danny had gotten in, he changed his mind and told her he wanted her in the cab with him, but told me to get into the back with his dog. I did have a cell phone, and as soon as we started driving, I got the phone out, and I tried to call 911, but it simply didn't have any coverage down there. I remember just very clearly and vividly thinking, I'm going to die today. Today is the last day of my life.
At this time, he started saying stuff to me like he was kidnapping us because my dad owed a whole bunch of money for this drug company and that he wasn't paying, so he was kidnapping me for ransom money. And I completely did not believe anything that he was saying.
He told us to walk down to the bank, and he just walked behind us and had us stand next to each other right by the water, and kept trying to express to us how helpless he was and how bad he felt about the fact that he would have to do this, that he would have to kidnap us, and that he would have to kill us.
To emphasize his points, he would shoot the gun into the river. And he shot it like 2 or 3 times to kind of emphasize his points. And that was the first time that I had heard the gun go off. So that made it even more real. Dan, like, the whole time was, like pleading stuff like, you know, I'll give you my wallet. I even have, like, a laptop at home. I have my car. I'll give you my car. I'll give you whatever you want. Just please let us go. Don't hurt us.
He said that we'd seen his face, and there was no way that he could ever let us go.
At that point, when we got back into the truck, you know, because, of course, we were both pleading, like, you know, we'll do anything. Just please don't hurt us. He kind of looked over at me and kind of gave me this look and was like, so, you said you'll do anything. At that point, it hadn't crossed my mind at all. That it really hadn't. But I knew exactly what he was talking about. And I thought, okay, I'll do this. Then you know, he'll let us go. He'll have gotten what he wanted. And that'll be it. And that it'll be done with. And it'll be over. And we'll be alive. I kind of just, you know, nodded my head. And he was like, take off your clothes. And at that point, he raped me. What I remember next is that he basically, you know, he started pulling on his pants and he was like, just get out of the truck.
And he instructed me to get out the back again. Again, I had to climb out.
And at this point, I was like, okay, he got what he wanted from us. He's just going to let us go. Everything's going to be fine. We'll get back home. And this will all be just like a bad nightmare.
He told us once again to walk down to the bank, and Danny asked him, she said, now you're going to let us go, right? And he said yes. He said he was going to let us go.
I was just praying with all my heart that he would just get into his truck and just leave us.
At some point, I must have tried to turn around to see what he was going to do, and I just felt this tremendous force that was so powerful and so fast that my mind couldn't keep up with it, and everything sort of slowed down as I fell to the ground. I just thought that I was going to die. I thought there was no chance. I started to spit up blood, and I could see it on the ground. And I suddenly just felt very tired.
And that's where I saw, the blood coming out of his mouth, and I turned to the left, and I kneeled down at him so we could talk. We were saying goodbye to each other. I love you. And then he closed his eyes.
The next thing I remember is hearing some loud bangs.
And the next thing I remember was blackness.
As it hit her, she fell backwards into the water. After she had fallen into the water backwards, he fired again at her. Then I hit the water, the frigid water, and I immediately woke up. I was immediately coherent again and wide awake, and somehow realized exactly what situation I was in and exactly where I was and exactly what had happened.
I came to, and I was actually floating in the river. And at that point, I realized that I actually had been shot. Shot through the jaw. I couldn't move my left leg either, so I figured that I had been shot in my leg also. In the river, I was spitting out like pieces of tooth. I could feel my tongue flopping around in my mouth.
As I'm in this frigid water, I realize he's standing at the bank looking at me, and so I did my best to play dead and just try to float along with the current and just let him believe that, okay, he had shot me and I had died, and now my body was just going to float down the river.
We were actually in the middle of the river, staring towards shore, watching this guy staring at us. Eventually, we watched him get back in his truck, and he left. And that's when Dan was like, okay, we got to swim towards shore. Dan, I wanted to just fall asleep, pass out. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move one of my legs. I was just exhausted. So Dan was just, guiding me this whole time. We started swimming towards shore, and that's actually when we saw a guy, sitting up there on a chair, up on this hill. And we were trying to, call out. Every time I would talk, I'd feel my tongue, bouncing, in my mouth. I don't know how he understood us, but we kept saying, we've been shot, we need help, we need help. One of the other guys kind of dragged me up further onto the shore, and he put his coat over me and put his hat on me to keep me warm. I felt safe at that point, I did. In some ways, initially, he took away my faith in humanity, and that was probably the hardest thing. My friends were going out to parties and, seemed like they didn't have a care in the world, and at some points I was afraid to go to the library by myself at night. It was just across campus. So I had to learn how to do all that again. Yeah, I don't know what would have happened if either one of us wouldn't have made it, but I think we together, we just have a strength that just unites us,
I think that I survived so that Danny would be all right. And I think that in some ways she survived so that I'd be all right. Because I don't think if either one of us were in that situation by ourselves, we'd still be around today.